icLAAo. I can't lose. No reality where I lose. Ever. Today is February 16th, 2026, day 47 of the 100 push-up, 100 squat progressive challenge for a year. We're on month 2, so we're moving from 100 push-up to 110 push-up and 110 squat for the second month. The lesson for today is that nothing in life that's meant to be should be forced. You shouldn't ever need to force anything in life. If you're trying to force it, that means it's not right. It's like trying to force a circle inside of a square hole. You can force it, and what will happen? It'll just break. It will never work, and all you do is waste energy and waste time. So never force anything in life. If it's supposed to happen, it'll happen smooth. If it's supposed to happen, if something's supposed to be, if you're supposed to do this, if you're supposed to do that, it's never force. If it's not happening smoothly, then it's not for you. Let's go.
You know, it's not. Seeing a come like some. You think you think I'll come online? OnlyFans guy. Don't want me to take off my top allowance. See, this is the issue right here. So our niggas not in their desired reality. You lot are focusing. You guys need to be focusing. Do I have to work? Shit. That's insane. I don't know what it is that makes me feel like this. I don't know who you are, but you must be some kind
25 push-ups.
Cause you got our lies on you no matter where you are. I'm surprised you know that song. I'm surprised you know that song. You know she's from Warsaw. Is she? Yeah. Someone said you should do a video about your SP. I don't like all that SP nonsense. You think we should actually make a video? We can make a video on how people can manifest people that they want. I just don't like the whole hyperfixation on XP. It actually comes from a lot of insecurities, which is actually the frequency that's actually repelling people from being able to attract people that they truly want. But I'll make a video. But the enormous universe. Let's first cover that at the foundation.
Give it your 100% effort to live. Be an embodiment of life, not an embodiment of an outcome. An embodiment of how your life has brought you here. It is an embodiment of life itself. You know, be present enough to express yourself in every one of your actions, and don't be dictated by the consequences. Not saying consequences, not moral consequences, not stuff like that. But in terms of when we put our energy,
50 push-ups.
Sometimes I feel like all energy is a gift. And if you're truly giving something, if you're truly giving something to something, you should expect nothing in return. Otherwise, you're doing it to get something in return. And I think in all things, because, you know, I guess that doesn't work in all things. Or I guess that is hard to practice in all things. So, my suggestion would be to find anything, one thing, some sort of expressions like art, poetry, writing, working out, doing anything, but doing it for the sake of doing.
50
start
squat.
living life for the sake of living life.
More desire into the universe and hoping that something sticks, which sounds pretty reasonable on the surface because wanting feels like you care. It feels like you're doing something, like you're actively pulling your future towards you. But the reality is that wanting is actually a signal of absence, right? A kind of energetic broadcast that says, I don't have this yet. And the more intensely you want, the more clearly you're telling yourself and everyone around you that you're in a state of lack. And this is where it gets a bit sciencey, but because your wanting is literally noise in a signal-to-noise ratio situation, meaning the more you're focused on the gap between where you are and where you want to be, the harder it becomes for your brain, your body, and your attention system to actually notice opportunities that are already around you, since your reticular activating system, which we've talked about before in other trainings, is tuned to confirm whatever you believe is true. So if you believe you don't have the thing, your RA
75
fully
push-up
evidence that you could. And you can think of it like a radio dial that's basically stuck between stations, where the station you want is playing perfectly fine, but all that static from wanting is drowning it out. And the more emotional charge you put into the wanting, the louder the static gets, which is the opposite of what you'd expect, right? Your brain can only process a tiny slice of reality at any given moment, maybe a few
75 squat.
million, so it has to choose what to show you, and it chooses based on which your overweight clothes, just in case you gain the weight back, which is a vote of no confidence in your future self. Then there's the mental clutter, which is maybe even more important. That is all the open loops and all the unfinished decisions and things that you've been meaning to do that just sit there consuming background processing power, like apps running in the background of your phone, draining the battery even though you're not using them. There's this thing called the Zeigarnik effect, where your brain holds on to incomplete tasks more persistently than completed ones, which is useful for remembering to finish important things, but becomes a problem when you have dozens of uncommitted decisions just sitting there taking up cognitive real estate. So every
110 push-up.
I need to eventually that you haven't resolved is really a tiny drain on your mental energy, and those drains add up until you're operating at like 60% capacity without realizing why you feel so scattered and tired. And even unmade decisions are a form of clutter, because holding multiple possibilities in your head without committing to one really keeps you in a state of low-grade tension, which is why people often feel relieved after finally making a choice they've been putting off, regardless of which option they picked, right? And then there's the relational clutter, which is the hardest to address. All the people in your life who you've outgrown or who represent a version of you that you're trying to leave behind. Connections that you maintain out of obligation or guilt or habit rather than genuine mutual enrichment, right? Some of these relationships are actively keeping you stuck because
110 squat.
people unconsciously revert to an
We
older
thank
version
God.
of yourself, the version they
Say it with me.
which makes it really hard
I feel
to someone new.
I can't lose.
Being reflected back as
No
someone
reality
else,
where I lose.
right? It
No
makes
reality.
sense. Other relationships
Ever.
are just neutral drains.
Yeah.
They're not